Hi, everyone. Welcome to the absolute final session of the 2019 CEP program. We are really happy that you are here with us this morning. It is morning time here in Palo Alto, and our team has been up since early on this morning trying to troubleshoot an issue that you guys may be aware of. I see that it's in our Q&A right now, and it's in the chat window, but unfortunately, many of you woke up to some messages that came through the CEP July 2019 class. And we just want to apologize for the glitch in our notification system that happened this morning. We think this went out to all members of the CEP 2019 class, and our team is looking into this issue further. Nothing like this has ever happened before, and we are taking every step to make sure that this does not happen again. But if you were wondering if it was just you, it is not just you. It did go out to everybody. We are deeply apologetic for it. And just know that it has nothing to do with your standing in CEP or assignments that you've completed or your attendance. It has nothing to do with any of that. It just went out to everybody. So you should not receive any notifications like that again. And please just proceed with the work that you know you're doing with your attendance and your assignments. So if you have any further questions about that, you're welcome to type them into the Q&A window. But that's kind of the statement on that. We're troubleshooting. We're really sorry about that. Today, though, you guys are here capping off your summer of learning. We do have a CK-12 PLIX and Simulations webinar, which is a fan favorite. So excited to have you here. Just a reminder that this does count as one of our core webinar sessions. And so if you are wanting to use this as one of your live sessions, you will need to access and complete the assignment in our CEP program book. We have a resource page for this session like we do for all of our sessions, and you can access that at the tinyurl.com/PLIXandSims2019. We'll post that in the chat window for you right now. And then just your reminder on Zoom is that the Q&A window is the best place to ask questions for our team, and the chat window is the best place for you guys to have a community conversation, but make sure you're sending your messages to all panelists and attendees. After you finish this session, I know some of you guys are anxious to figure out how to wrap all this up. We did launch our final session yesterday, so you guys can now access the content for Beyond the CK-12 Certified Educator Program. That is the second required on-demand session for the summer. So whenever you're finished with all of your Sims and PLIX work, if you've completed all of your other assignments and sessions, start on the Beyond the CK-12 Certified Educator Program. You are gonna have to answer some questions about those videos. And then after you're done with all of your work for the summer, we have you fill out a final form, which is your application to become a certified educator. We do not know that you want to be certified until you complete this final form and tell us about the work that you've completed. And then we also have a form where you're able to send us your alumni information so we can put your face and your info on our alumni page. So that's all exciting things available to you now as of today in the book. Everything needs to be submitted by July 31st. So I hope that helps to answer any pressing questions about that, but let's kick it off with today's important content. So I'm going to hand it over to my colleague, Katie S., who's gonna start talking about PLIX interactives. And Katie's working on, we're working on unmuting here. Hang on just one second, everybody. We'll be right with you.
All right, sorry about that. Thank you, Lindsay, and thank you to everyone who joined us today for today's session on CK-12 Simulations and PLIX Interactives. Today we're going to highlight 3 different types of interactives. We're going to scale up from the manipulatives found throughout our latest FLEXBOOKS, FLEXBOOKS 2.0, to the diverse PLIX to the full portal simulations. The interactives in FLEXBOOKS 2.0 allow students to actively experiment with concepts within the course itself. We will highlight Science and Math PLIX, which stands for Play, Learn, Interact, Explore. This tool allows users to animate ideas through simple interactions. Also, we will be discussing our science simulations, which enable learners to discover the scientific principles that govern a real-world setting in a fun and interactive way. Before we get into the core content of the webinar, we would like to find out a little bit more about your familiarity with these interactives. You'll see a poll here in a few seconds that will prompt you to respond to a question. Okay, so here's the question. How familiar are you with CK-12 simulations and PLIX interactives? You can select all answers that apply. I am new to them. I use PLIX occasionally. I use simulations occasionally. I use PLIX frequently. I use simulations frequently. I'll pause for a few seconds to let you finish answering this poll. Remember, please select all that apply to you. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, looks like a lot of you guys are new to our interactives. So this is a great time for us to tell you all about them. Okay, so now let's move on and discuss our interactives. In this first section of the webinar, I'll discuss new features in CK-12's interactive FLEXBOOKS 2.0. Next, we'll talk about PLIX interactives and PLIX Corner. Our goal is to get you ready to try interactives in your class. CK-12 recently released interactive FLEXBOOKS 2.0, which are filled with interactives. This is a section from the newly released 8th grade math course. Students can read through the text, look at pictures, and manipulate graphs, figures, tables, and equations. The interactives are often paired with sets of inline questions that students can answer to guide their learning and get immediate feedback. The courses even have full-screen interactives like PLIX and simulations. In this course, the interactives are designed to be an integral part of the lesson, not just supplementary. This is cutting-edge online educational technology. All right, so interactive FLEXBOOKS are online courses that are populated with digital manipulatives and PLIX interactives, which we'll go into in depth later in this webinar. We currently have 8th grade Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, and Physics interactive courses up on the site. Each curriculum is rigorous, and the math courses are fully aligned with Common Core state standards. Like everything at CK-12, the courses are free. To find the courses, just click Explore at the top of the CK-12 homepage. When the drop-down menu appears, find the FLEXBOOKS 2.0 option. Further down the menu, you'll also see a link to the PLIX Browse page. Sonia will show you more about this later. An information page about FLEXBOOKS 2.0 appears. From here, you can either scroll down or click the Get Started button when the page loads. The link takes you to a web page with the URL flexbooks.ck12.org. The functionality of the interactives are tightly integrated with each course. For example, this interactive is designed for a lesson on comparing function types: linear, exponential, quadratic, and rational. The lessons in this interactive FLEXBOOK are also full of real-world applications and PLIX. PLIX are similar to the embedded interactives that we just looked at, except PLIX can be accessed outside of the course. PLIX have more features, and they cover a wide breadth of math and science concepts. All right, so PLIX stands for Play, Learn, Interact, Explore. It's a visual learning modality that allows users to animate ideas in a concept through simple interactions. We have over 1,140 interactives that span both math and science concepts and can be filtered by subject, keyword, concept, or standards. Also, PLIX, like everything at CK-12, is free to all users. All you have to do is sign in to CK-12 to access them. After you've opened up a PLIX, the first thing you do is read the description on the left. The description explains what the interactive is about and provides directions on how to interact with it. Next, use the interactive by following the prompt in the instructions. In the interactive, you can explore the concept. If you need to start over, there's a refresh button at the bottom you can use. After you've used the interactive, click the challenge button below the description. This opens up the challenge questions. The questions often build upon one another to help students reach a deeper understanding of a concept. The final question is a discussion question that you can use for a class conversation. This is a great place to think about differentiating learning by having students try the first few questions or work their way through to the higher level thinking and discussion questions. As a side note, don't worry about trying to write down all the teaching strategies that we mentioned. A full list is in the CEP FLEXBOOK for Sims and PLIX used under Resources. Along the toolbar at the top of the PLIX, you'll see that there are even more features. We'll discuss more of these features as we go. And now let's dive into a PLIX. This PLIX is about lunar phases. The description of this PLIX includes a prompt on how to interact with it. Notice that it says to drag the red point. Moving the red point changes the phases of the moon in accordance with the labels on the slider. At the top right of this PLIX is an orange button to assign to class. You can assign PLIX to students in a CK-12 class group by clicking on that button. Let's look at another PLIX for a second. Before we explore the PLIX itself, you can see in the top right the options to give feedback and adjust the size of the text by clicking the icons in the upper right corner of the screen. You'll notice that this PLIX about rules for dilation has the same description prompt area, the simple interaction, and challenge questions. This PLIX uses two of the most frequently seen question types: multiple choice and select all that apply. If students are struggling with a question, they can often find hints to help answer the questions. Notice that if you get an answer wrong, you'll see the option to show the correct answer. Once again, this is a learning, not an assessment tool, so the students will be able to get immediate feedback and guidance when they attempt a question. Students can also use the Learn More option to read about the matching concept and gain a better understanding of it. Encouraging students who are struggling to access these resources is another great way to personalize and support student learning. So now that you've seen two PLIX, you may be wondering where you can get your hands on them. You can use the search bar to find content and modalities, including PLIX. You can also access PLIX through the circular PLIX icon on the homepage. You can even get to PLIX from within FLEXBOOKS 2.0. For example, let's look at the geometry book. Open the book from the Browse page. Scroll through the table of contents and open up a lesson. There we go. The Start button would open up the written lesson. Below that is listed other ways to learn. The first two modalities here are PLIX. I can tell because the little brain icon next to the title indicates that they're PLIX. Lessons with PLIX and simulations are often the modalities listed first. You can access our PLIX through the website on any computer or tablet with a screen size of 9 inches or larger. If you're accessing PLIX via FLEXBOOKS 2.0, you can even see them on your phone. Alternatively, you can jump directly to the PLIX Browse page using www.ck12.org/PLIX. Let's see what that looks like. Once on the Browse page, you have a few options. Remember to sign in if you haven't, and then you can choose your branches. Branches are the subjects that you're teaching. This will help filter your PLIX according to the areas that you're teaching. If you've done this and you want to update those branches, you could click on Change Branches. In addition to searching on the main site, you could search within the PLIX browse page. Here you could search for a title, concept, or even CCSS or NGSS standard. You can find PLIX in all branches of math and science. To achieve this depth of coverage, we've developed some really diverse PLIX. Some PLIX are exploratory based, while others check for student understanding. Some PLIX are abstract and others are based on the real world. In a little bit, we're going to dive into a few examples. You can share your idea for a PLIX with the Interactives team by clicking the link above the search bar. So far, we've looked at embedded interactives and full PLIX. I'm now going to show you how to embed interactives into your own lessons. I've got a draft of a lesson ready here to embed both a basic PLIX, which is only the interactive part, as well as a complete PLIX, which is a full PLIX that opens into a PLIX screen. First, I'll quickly go through the process. Afterwards, we can review the specific buttons to press. So, on the PLIX, click the 3 dots at the top and go to Embed. Copy the basic PLIX code by pressing the orange button. I'm going to use the Add Insert Media button and paste in my code. I can preview it and press Insert. Now for the full PLIX, I can use the code below and copy it over. I press the same Add Insert button. I can preview this too. A complete PLIX includes a launch button. Next, insert it and keep the lessons as a draft to save the whole thing. Let's see what it looks like as a finished lesson. Here is my basic embedded interactive. Yep. Press try it and review the text. You could play around with it right in the lesson. And here's the full PLIX. When you press the launch button, it takes you to the full PLIX screen. Once again, it's the same interactive, but it comes with 5 questions and more features. Whew, we went through that pretty quickly. Now let's do a quick recap. Those 3 buttons at the top of the PLIX are what you press to get to the drop-down menu with the Embed button. Press the Embed button to get to the PLIX codes. On the draft of your lesson, press the Insert Edit Media button to add the code and embed interactives into your lesson. Okay, now let's look at the variety of PLIX available to you. These exploration-based PLIX are sandboxes in which a student can play around and experiment with an idea. In the distance between 2 points, taxicab distance PLIX, students explore 2 different ways to find distance between 2 locations. In the Ohm's Law PLIX, students explore how Ohm's Law affects the current in a circuit. A great teaching strategy would be to have students explore a PLIX and then share their different experiences and what they learned with each other. In some PLIX, like these, students can get feedback to check their understanding of a concept. The structure of water PLIX allows students to rotate water molecules to form hydrogen bonds. In the law of cosines PLIX, students find the missing side lengths of triangles using the law of cosines. These PLIX could be used as a review of a concept so students can see how well they understand a concept before an assessment. In many PLIX, students can manipulate graphs, diagrams, or variables. In this sine and cosine PLIX, students can explore how the values of trig functions relate to a given angle. In the refraction band gap PLIX, users change the band gap of a substance to see if a photon can fit through. As a lesson, you could have students screenshot a few different states for a graph or set of variables and explain what changed and how the change affected the graph or situation. Some PLIX use real-world contexts to teach math and science concepts. In the Rainforest Map Quest PLIX, students can locate villages on a map using a scale. In the Rate of Dissolving Sugar PLIX, students observe what happens to a sugar cube in tea as the temperature changes. For these real-world PLIX, try having students brainstorm other applications of a particular concept or even design their own PLIX to address a concept. As you've seen throughout these PLIX, there are a number of different ways to have students work with and use PLIX. In class, as a warm-up, as enrichment, as a remedial activity, or to explore a concept. At home, as a homework assignment, or students can post answers to PLIX questions on CK-12. To differentiate instruction, using challenge questions, learn more, and explorations. To foster conversation, the last question of each PLIX is a discussion question, and some lead to PLIX Corner. All right, so I've mentioned PLIX Corner a couple of times now. So let's talk about what it is and how to find it. The CK-12 Cafe is a place where you can ask and answer questions and share with other users. Just click the link to Cafe in the Explore drop-down menu to get there. We're going to enter PLIX Corner where users answer intriguing PLIX discussion questions. Here's a great example of a recent discussion in the PLIX Corner. The PLIX Science Question of the Week was from the Temperature and Temperature Scales PLIX. You can assign the PLIX featured in a PLIX Corner post and have your students join the conversation and discuss their ideas with classmates and students across the world. One of the standards of mathematical practice is construct viable arguments and critique the reasoning of others. The PLIX Corner is a great place for students to discuss their reasoning about a topic. Each week, CK-12 features one math PLIX and one science PLIX to ask questions of the week. We've been noticing more and more classes leaving answers to PLIX questions en masse, sometimes with notes of encouragement from their teacher. If you'd like to see a specific PLIX feature that you want your students to respond to in PLIX Corner, let us know. On the next slide, I'll tell you how to get in touch with us. All right, so I'd like to challenge you to get involved. Try out PLIX and the interactive FLEXBOOKS 2.0. Share interactives that you love with your students and other teachers. Tell us at CK-12 what you think by reaching out to us at Facebook, Twitter, or share your ideas for a PLIX. Give it a shot. Have fun exploring our new interactives. And with that, this might be a good time to stop and see what questions we have coming in about PLIX and the interactive FLEXBOOKS before we move on to the second half of this webinar where Sonia discusses simulations.
Great, thank you, Katie. We do have some questions that have been coming into Q&A. Let's see, a lot of them more about program-related things, but some of the specific PLIX ones, a question, well, it was actually a suggestion of a lot of science PLIX align with 5th grade NGSS standards, but you don't have elementary standards in your system yet. Can I suggest you tag some of your PLIX with elementary NGSS standards? So yes, we are always open to suggestions. That's awesome. But Katie, why don't maybe you talk about some best practices of how do people search and filter to find different PLIX that they're looking for? And I can even share my screen over here if you wanted to go live. So let me go ahead and I'm going to share the screen here, and then you can do a quick demo if you would like on the screen.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. So let's see. We're going to navigate to the PLIX browse page here. You click on Explore, and then go down to PLIX right here. And here we are. We already have all these branches loaded up for everything in science and math. If this is your first time clicking through to the PLIX browse page, you may have to sign up and go through a quick little tutorial. For elementary PLIX, math related, I recommend going over to the arithmetic or the measurement branches. We have a lot here that's appropriate for K through 5. As for science, you'll find a smattering of elementary-based PLIX across different branches. You may want to use the search bar to look for specific topics. So let's say I'm just going to look in genetics here and see what comes up. We've got a bunch, may or may not necessarily be K through 5 friendly content in terms of the difficulty level, but whatever topic it is you're teaching, you can use the search bar for that. Another way that you can look for PLIX is back at the home page. You can again use the Explore menu, click on FLEXBOOKS 2.0, and you could either press Get Started or scroll on down to these FLEXBOOKS 2.0. And when you see your book here, you could open up any lesson and you'll find other ways to learn that often include PLIX, like this one. So if there's a specific topic that you're teaching, you can just click on that related modality and open it up. All right.
We had a couple additional questions.
Yeah, sure. So here, again, using the Explore menu, we can move on down to the cafe, and we have many cafe corners that you can look at. Science and math are popular. PLIX is the one we're going to be talking about today. And you'll notice that the first few posts up here don't have a lot of responses. That's because we find that the way that this cafe often gets used is people go to a specific PLIX, they click on Assign to Class, and using either CK-12 or Google Classroom, teachers can assign this PLIX to everyone in their class group. And what many of these PLIX have, and the very last question, which I'm quickly going to try to click through to, is, let's see, does this one have it? Yep. You discuss your answer in the PLIX corner. So if students click on this link, it'll pop up the post for that specific PLIX question. Students can answer it and see the answers of other students as well. And so if you want to share a specific PLIX, you assign it with that orange button, the Assign to Class that we looked at. You can also click on this little share button, which shows up on any cafe post, and you can share that post directly with your class as well.
We're having a Friday here in the CK-12 office. Katie, I don't know if you guys noticed, when we first started this, Katie's Zoom completely like froze where she couldn't move her mouse. So then Katie moved over to my computer to demo, then I moved over to the CK-12 host computer, and then we had to switch back. And so then somewhere in there, I forgot to turn on my microphone. I think we've got it together now, but anyway, we're trying. If you could be in this room with us, it's musical chairs and trying to keep this going. So I really apologize. Hopefully you're still getting the good content. Katie, everybody was reporting, I guess, they couldn't see how to get to the cafe. And so one easy way to get to the cafe, there's a bunch of different ways to do it, but I would go up to that Explore menu option, and there's a drop down there at the very top, and that's how you can get easy access to a lot of our different pages. And then if you click on that, we have a bunch of different cafes. We also use the term forum. We kind of use those interchangeably, but that's where you can find the Jumpstart for Educators Cafe, and then the PLIX Corner is right there. And so I'm sorry if you missed that initial introduction. That was all I said, and it wasn't very interesting, but I should at least turn my sound on. So again, our team's still answering some of the Q&A questions here. I think, Katie, are we ready to pass this off to Sonia? Okay, I think we are going to start talking here in a second about our simulations. So I am actually going to take the screen back, and we're going to go back to our keynote here. You guys keep typing into the Q&A, and again, I appreciate your patience as we're just trying to make sure that we've got sound and whatnot for you. But that was the information about our PLIX interactives, and our simulations are a little bit different. And so Sonia's going to talk through our simulations, and then Katie is here, so she'll do any more demos that you guys need to see on the PLIX after we learn a little bit more about simulations. So Sonia, why don't I turn this over to you?
All right. Well, happy Friday, everyone. TGIF, and thank you so much for taking time out of your summer to be with us. And I am really excited to show you all our CK-12 interactive simulations, which we lovingly refer to as SIMs. We offer a really large collection of over 120 physics and chemistry simulations that are all tablet and laptop friendly. So I do just want to do a side note. So if you're sitting there listening to me, you have your smartphone next to you, and you're going to hop on to look at our Sims, you're going to need a 9-inch screen or larger. So they are tablet and laptop friendly and not accessible from those smaller smartphones, simply because just the sliders and graphs would not really be work on a screen of that size. So tablet and laptop friendly. They truly are a groundbreaking new type of digital learning tool, unlike anything else out there, in that they overlay the scientific and mathematical principles onto a real-world setting. So these Sims support inquiry-based learning and promote students to connect that often abstract STEM concepts with their everyday applications. They are aligned to NGSS standards and are applicable to both middle and high school levels. They differ from the PLIX that Katie just kind of introduced in that they are almost like a portal. They pull students into a real-world setting. They allow them multiple ways to interact, and they connect many concepts together. But like the PLIX and all other resources on CK-12, they are all free. So you'll just simply have to sign in to CK-12, and the really awesome feature about our Sims is you can launch them with just one easy click. So for this next half of the webinar, I'm going to show you how to navigate the Sims browse page. It's very similar to the PLIX browse page that Katie went over. Then I'm going to help familiarize you with the general structure of the Sims. I will also highlight the many embedded Sim features and resources. I'll definitely share some ideas that I have for using the Sims as an instructional tool in class or at home to differentiate instruction and to dispel some of those common science misconceptions. I'm really excited to tell you about the Sims that we now offer in different languages, the recently added embed codes, and I will end by going live to show you some of the Sims found in our science FLEXBOOKs on the new FLEXBOOK 2.0 platform. So really, this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are, my main goal, like Katie's, is that by the end of this webinar, you really feel excited and equipped to use the CK-12 simulations with your students. So my best advice to you at this time is, as I go through, I'm going to feature a lot of different Sims. Pick one and then hop on our site and experiment with it and try to use it out in your classroom during that first week of school to engage your students. So that's my challenge for you. All right. So I want to share this with you. I used to be a classroom physics teacher, and this is an actual picture taken of a whiteboard in my physics class a few years ago. So don't judge, but I spent my entire lunch period drawing this image for my students, right, with the materials that I had, a marker and a whiteboard, trying to relate the law of reflection with what they see in a mirror every day. Thankfully, CK-12 has provided a much more compelling learning tool, and now all of us teachers can eat our lunch. Very exciting. So this is the prom night sim, and it really exemplifies the beautiful collaboration between science teachers, animators, and software developers at CK-12. So the prom night sim begins with an intriguing question. So what size mirror do you need to see your entire body? And then press play. And it advances through a video explaining the basic concepts involved in this situation, and it poses further questions to get students to kind of start thinking about the underlying physics in this real world scenario. And this scenario, which I love about all our sims, is it is outside the four walls of your classroom. And that's just a big goal, to get students to know that physics actually happens outside the physics classroom. So the next scene here is what we refer to as the sandbox, because just like a playground sandbox, it's meant for users to play around and discover new things. So in this interactive environment, you're going to find some sliders for certain physical variables, and then you will see some responsive animations to illustrate the relationship. Now, the next scene, you can access questions that can be answered by adjusting the sliders. And then the final scene of every simulation ends with a set of real-world examples. And these invite students to think about applications of the underlying concepts in different physical situations to promote that continued learning. So hopefully after previewing this sim, I hope you are excited to see more. Okay, so let's talk about accessing the sims. So there's many ways to access the sims from within the CK-12 website. And I'm gonna follow kind of that same pattern that Katie and Lindsay introduced already. So you simply click on Explore option in the main toolbar, it's highlighted there. Then you will find Simulations. And you can see just right here under Simulations is PLIX, and under PLIX was the cafe. And then you can also just scroll down the home page and click on the simulations. So here there's the simulations icon at the bottom left corner right there. So any of those options will take you to our simulations browse page. Okay, so on the bottom left there, you're gonna see a shortcut link, www.ck12.org/sims. And this will also provide just like a simple shortcut for you, your students, or colleagues if you want to post it on your website or through your LMS system to quickly get to that Sims browse page. Now, in our collection of over 120 Sims, we have bobsleds, violin recitals, swimming, we have archery, airplanes, elevators, right? All real world settings that are hard to replicate in the classroom. So we can move on to the next slide here. And our collection of Sims are currently divided into two branches. So you can see on the top left, I've highlighted, we're now on the Physics tab. So the first row on the Physics tab actually features 3 of my favorite Sims for topics commonly taught in a physics classroom around the beginning of the school year. So on the far left there, you'll see the driverless car Sim, and it poses the opening question: how does a self-driving car know where to go? And it prompts students to practice vector addition in a fun way. In the middle, at the crossroads, could be used to teach conversions of systems of measurement. And then on the far left is this Erwin and Ruthie Sim. It's actually one of my personal favorites. It allows students to adjust the velocity of 2 racing robots to learn all about motion and graphing motion. And that's even one I saw a few teachers from elementary level. That would be a fun one to even use in an elementary classroom. So like I said before, these are all scenarios that are really hard to replicate in the classroom. And although these Sims are formally labeled as physics, Their topical coverage is broad, and we do have sims that relate to concepts regarding physical science, earth science, astronomy, and math. So even if you're not a physics teacher, I know I saw a lot of people teaching a variety of subjects on our chat window. I encourage you to visit the CK-12 Sims browse page, and I really am confident that you can find something for your course and level. All right, so just to be sure to convince you, I would like to highlight some other sims that could even be used to teach some important math concepts. So on the top left corner there, the portrait gallery sim can be used to teach vector addition and important concepts related to trigonometry. Both the water fountain sim and the archery sim have to do with projectile motion and involve parametric equations. And then the stadium wave sim on the bottom right there can be used for a more complicated sinusoid problem. So really, like I said earlier, these sims are just labeled physics and chemistry, but there are really many that can be used to highlight the real-world applications connected to a variety of STEM concepts. So going back to that Sims browse page, the second tab I'll click on will give you access to the recently released chemistry Sims. And you're going to see a little sticker there that says beta, because they are in what we refer to as the beta stage of development. So what you'll see is the beginning of the full structure that you see in the physics Sims. These chemistry simulations, really all the goal is that they all provide the microscopic explanations for the macroscopic observations of the world around us. And I know that makes all you chemistry teachers out there smile, because that is the goal, right? So the first three that you're looking at here on the far left is the going fishing sim. And students can use this sim to explore what makes an object float or sink. In the middle is the airbag sim, which allows students to investigate the chemical reactions that cause an airbag to inflate. And then the far right is the hot pack cold pack sim, which provides a great everyday model for students to associate with exothermic and endothermic reactions. So again, just as I said when I started, I really hope you'll explore and experiment with using these sims in your classroom, and also provide us with your feedback. There is a link in each sim, which when I demo, I'll show you, and it says feedback, and you can let us know how it goes and any suggestions for improvement. I personally read those every Monday morning, get my coffee and read the feedback, and our team really works hard to implement any suggestions you have. So here, let's talk about, once on the browse page, how you're going to find a sim for your particular class. So you can simply scroll down. You can type keywords into that search bar right there, or you can sift through the filters highlighted on the top left there. Okay, so you can filter the sims by concept or NGSS standards. These concepts and standards are also listed under each simulation. You can see them in light blue there. In addition, there is a worksheet link under each sim. So when you click on the worksheet arrow icon, be sure to click on the arrow specifically, a worksheet version of this sim will pop up that can be easily downloaded as a PDF. There's also a way to access the worksheet from within the sim that I will demonstrate later. So here's what it looks like when that PDF pops up. And there are a variety of ways in which these worksheets can be used. But I think it's most important to note that all of the embedded features and content in the sims that I'm going to show you are accessible in the worksheet format here. So if internet is an issue at your school, or you would like a handout that will simply guide your students in using the sims, or if your students just simply respond better to turning something in, I know mine did, these worksheet resources are currently available for all physics sims, and the Chem Sim worksheets will be coming down the road. Okay, so this slide's really, I think, important because these images display the four main windows found in every sim. And these particular images show our ramp and piano sim. So this sim is about force, distance, and work, and how this relationship can be manipulated with a simple ramp. I actually used to begin my physics curriculum with investigating simple machines, and I just think this is a great sim to introduce students to important concepts related to physics. So really what I want you to take note of here is that one of the most unique things about our simulations is their consistent structure. So our entire collection will start with an introductory video posing that big question, moving on to the interactive sandbox, providing a few slider-based questions, and then ending with other related real-world examples. So here's why I think it's so important. I think that you'll find after using just 1 or 2 sims with your students, you're really no longer going to have to focus, or your students are no longer going to have to focus their attention on how to use the digital tool, and will be able instead to focus on learning the concepts, which in my personal opinion is much more important. So this is a snapshot, and I'll go through each of these pieces now. So I'll start with that introductory video. So this is a snapshot of the hot oven sim, which enables students to explore the difference between heat, temperature, and thermal energy. So like every sim intro video, the font size can be changed. You see the 3 A's there. You can play and pause the video in the bottom middle there. And then for repeat users of the sim, the video can also be skipped. So on the bottom left corner. So some ideas I have for using the intro video. I might project this question on the screen, from the overhead projector in my classroom, and prompt students to complete a quick write as a warm-up activity. So the bell rings, pen to paper, 3 minutes, ask students to write whatever comes to their mind in response to this question. What's the difference between temperature and heat? And then I would press play, and I could imagine walking students through the intro video in a discussion format. Okay, so the next scene of our simulations are that interactive sandbox. And this particular slide shows the interactive environment of the cliff diver sim that allows students to explore the acceleration due to gravity. So in every interactive sandbox, you'll almost always see just what you do here. 1 or 2 graphs at the top representing the situation, as well as sliders that allow you to manipulate the basic parameters, and a play button. So each slider has an information tag, that little I that's circled there, that can be activated to learn more. And then the graphs have many features activated by the gear symbol. You can see it's circled there. So users can get info about the graph, zoom in to see the graph more clearly. You can hide the graphs or compare 2 trials by clicking on Enable Last Run. So you can see there, you get info, zoom, hide the graph, or enable last run. So I think it would be a really great exercise to, again, kind of project this sandbox on the screen in class with the overhead or whatever you have to do that. And I could imagine hiding the graphs, passing out whiteboards, maybe breaking up students in groups of 4, each with the whiteboard. Then I would adjust the sliders to certain settings, and I would prompt my students to sketch their predictions on what the graphs would look like on their whiteboards. Then very dramatically, I would press play and drop down the graphs to reveal the results. That would just trigger a great class discussion. So I really hope you try that one out. Okay, so the information bar at the top of every sandbox can be used to differentiate instruction. And I really want you to look at that toolbar. There's a lot of useful things. So we'll first look at the tutorial. So for students who are stuck or need more help, there is a tab labeled tutorial, which opens to a 3-minute YouTube video screencast that carefully details how the simulation works, made by yours truly. In addition, there is always a link available to concepts that highlight the relevant material in the CK-12 website. And for students who are up for a challenge, the Challenge Me questions provide a few related, deep thinking, open-ended questions. So here I want you to see all those arrows pointing to that information bar in this one interactive environment. Students who are struggling are supported with those tutorials and concept links. Students who are ready to move on are challenged with the Challenge Me questions. And really all students are prompted to be curious and have fun. Okay, so this next slide is a snapshot of the slider-based questions in the Sprinter sim, and it allows students to explore friction by investigating why sprinters wear spiked shoes for running. So you actually receive immediate feedback on your submission to these questions, and there's also a way to create new slider-based questions so that you, as the instructor, can tailor the sim to your specific course or level. So you can see that create new question kind of boxed right there. So I could envision prompting students to answer the slider-based question in pairs during class. I could also see the completion of slider-based questions as a great homework assignment. They are included in that sim worksheet with sufficient space below each question to provide room for students to record their answers and reasoning. Okay, so this is a snapshot of the real-world examples at the end of the Gone Fishing chemistry sim about density and floating. I think it would be fun to prompt students to do further research on one of these examples for homework and share their findings with their classmates the next class period. And you can also customize the simulations by adding more real-world examples. So again, that little plus icon. Another idea would be to prompt students to create their own example and upload it here, adding to our bank of community contributed content. I actually introduced this idea during a previous webinar, and I'm really excited to announce that a few teachers actually took me up on it. So if you click, you can see there the community contributed tab, the community contributed content of the Gone Fishing sim. You will see that there's now over 25 examples that are student generated. So I just think students would get a thrill out of seeing their work displayed like this, you know, for the world to see. So I hope you'll try that out in the, first few weeks of school. I think it'll be really fun. Okay, so speaking of real world applications, I believe our simulations serve as great resources for any NGSS curriculum. So here are some examples of sims, which is awesome big questions. So the Journey to Mars sim, why do trips to Mars happen only during certain launch windows? Or the Diamond Cut sim, why do diamonds sparkle? The touchscreen sim poses the question, how does a capacitive touchscreen work? And the wind turbine sim opens with how efficient is a wind turbine? So I really feel that the challenge of NGSS is how to present the right phenomenon to elicit the right questions from students to meet those standards. And this is all with the goal of sparking curiosity and allowing students to discover on their own. So I really believe these sims can help you meet this challenge and easily serve as phenomenon in an NGSS course. So in addition to connecting science to the real world, our sims can also be used to make the invisible visible and dispel some of those deep-rooted science misconceptions. So this chart highlights some of the most common science misconceptions in a related sim we hope you can use to dispel it. And I will, when I go live, I'll show you how to find these resources. Both this chart is in PDF format and our teaching strategies that we're highlighting, both Katie and I, are in PDF format in your CEP FLEXBOOK. So I'll show you how to get this chart. But there's some great examples of misconceptions here. And we can probably move on to the next slide. So we have had physics teachers around the world volunteer to help us translate our sims to Korean, German, Chinese, and most recently Polish. So these translated sims are now live on our site, and you can see the language drop-down arrow on the top right corner highlighted there. And hopefully you can see right there as well, there's a help us translate link. And you can use this to provide us with your contact info if you'd be willing to help us translate the Sims into additional languages. We would be so grateful for any help you can offer. These translations are really central in helping us achieve our mission of providing free, high-quality physics resources to every student around the world. So I hope you'll consider. Okay, so another cool feature that was recently released for each sim is that they have embed codes available for you to use. So simply click on the 3 dots on that top right-hand corner of every sim. And then you're gonna see a drop-down menu with the embed option. And that will open up to a window with the code that you can easily copy and paste anywhere you can embed an object. So as Katie mentioned, CK-12 recently released interactive FLEXBOOKS 2.0, which are filled with embedded interactives. And right now we'll take a closer look at those. Okay, so currently we offer 6 science FLEXBOOKS on our new 2.0 platform. And as you can see here, physics is the only one with the official title Interactive Physics for High School, because about pretty much every lesson has an embedded sim or PLIX interactive within the reading, as well as attached as related modalities. And I do want to note that our team is currently working hard on continuing to embed sims and PLIX in the other science FLEXBOOKS, such as the chemistry, physical science, as well as developing new interactives for the life science, bio, and other resources, with the goal of making them exploratory digital textbooks. So at this time, I'll pause, and maybe, I know we have about a few minutes left, I'll hand it back to Lindsay, and then
Sure.
maybe if we have more time, I can demo and some of these interactive FLEXBOOKS for you.
Yeah, our team's been answering a bunch of these questions, but a few that are specific to what you're talking about is, I think some folks are still trying to wrap their head around the difference between PLIX and Sims. So I'll let you address that. And then one of the questions was if all Sims are slider-based questions. And I think Sonia just kind of walked you through that they all follow a similar structure and a similar format, and so you will see slider questions on the simulations. And then a question, again, kind of about filtering or the best practices for finding Sims. So I'll let you pick which, maybe one of those or 2 of those you want to knock off, and then I need to steal the screen back here in a couple minutes and make sure to do some program reminders.
Okay, no problem. So I'll try to answer all of those as quickly as possible. So here you can see my screen, hopefully, and I'm just going to start on the CK-12 webpage. So the difference between, we'll talk about simulations and then PLIX. So PLIX is more of a one-click, drag a red dot, one concept focused interactive. Simulations, which I'll open now by clicking on it, they, as you can see, have many concepts underneath. So they address many concepts, and there's many ways of interacting. So there's often 2 to 4 different sliders and a variety of settings that you can use within the sim. So again, I'll open the driverless car sim that I mentioned earlier. But the idea is, and you can see here, I'll kind of go to that interactive sandbox. There are a variety of sliders here. I can adjust the settings. And when I click on concepts, you can see that it's multi-conceptual. So that's kind of the bigger difference between Sims and PLIX. Another big difference is currently we offer more focus on physics and chem simulations, but the PLIX, so if I go back to the CK-12 homepage and under Explore and I go to PLIX, PLIX has specific interactives for every branch. So you could see here biology, earth science, life science, algebra, geometry, calculus, and they're made specifically for those subjects. So again, here under the PLIX, one concept and a simple way of interacting. The Sims kind of a little more complex. So that's that question. So going back to the Sims browse page, kind of how to find a sim. So I mentioned the filters, so I'm going to click on filter. and you can filter by concept. So oftentimes, let's say in the beginning of a school year, intro to physics, and then I can click on maybe unit conversions. And so we have this great at the crossroads sim that have to do with unit conversions. So I filtered by concept there. You can also filter by NGSS standards. So here's middle school physical science, and then here's that DCI, or the performance expectation, MSPS21 for physical science 2-1. And then these sims have to do, this is a fun one, the pirate ship sim has to do with Newton's third law, right? And it has all these beautiful interaction diagrams of what forces interact.
All right,
So,
Sonia, I'm going to jump in here because we are at that hour mark.
Okay, no problem.
So I'm just going to do a few program reminders here because guess what, everybody? That was the last session. So let me do a few reminders. And again, as you need to jump off this webinar, you can, and then we will come back to Katie and Sonia to address more Sims and PLIX questions. But this was one of our core sessions. And so to count this as one of your sessions, you do need to complete the assignment. Reminders that everything is found in our book. You can always give us feedback. There's a button to do that. And you've got the resource page linked in your book or through those tiny URLs. So the requirements of several of you, again, as we're at the end here asking questions, what if I only attended 3 live sessions? What if I only attended 2 live sessions? And these are the minimum program requirements. You need to watch the on-demand sessions. The first one opened up on July 1st, and then the last one opened up last night at midnight. So you are able to now watch all of the on-demand content, complete the matching assignments for those sessions. You should have joined us for 5 live sessions. If you joined us through Zoom for those webinars, we have your attendance records. You do not need to email us to confirm your attendance records. We have them there if you joined us. So you need to complete the assignments that match the sessions you attended. In your book, you see all of the available assignments, but you only need to complete the ones that match the content you're submitting to meet the program requirements. So you might leave a few blank, and that's perfectly fine for that. So once you've met these requirements, which it may take you another week or so to do that, we're hoping everybody's finished with their work on July 31st, because then our team starts compiling all the records and issuing certifications. So we want you to be wrapped up on July 31st so you can be in that first wave of getting all of your documentations and things. So after you've done all of your assignments in the book and you've attended all of your sessions, scroll down to the bottom of the Beyond page, and we have a link to a final form and a link to join the alumni portal. And these are both pretty crucial. That final form is what triggers to us that you have met the requirements, and we confirm all of the details you submit on that final form. And then we will issue you the following things. We will issue you a program certificate that's valid for 2 years and signed by our founder. We give you a digital version of the badge that you can use to brag to your colleagues and networks. You can add it to your email signatures about how you are now a certified educator. We will provide you a letter documenting the hours you completed this program. That's one of the questions we ask in the final form, is how many hours you spent this summer. And we'll provide a letter to you that hopefully you can give to your school or district to meet your needs. And then we'll also give you access to the alumni portal that's part of our program page. So I'll field some questions here, and again, we'll get back to the content as well, but any kind of one-off questions regarding your own personal records or anything like that, it's easiest to email those to jumpstart@ck12.org. We love the social media as well, but we will try to help you as much as possible here as we wrap up the program. Just know that everybody's finishing things up, and then the beginning of August is when you will hear from us about your status and get your certificates. So let's see. I watched the on-demand webinars, completed all the work. Yes, you have to watch the 2 on-demand sessions, complete the assignments, and 5 live sessions. So I think that's it in the Q&A for our program information right now. Sonia, looks like we've got a couple more. I think you were in the process of demoing these 2 about the lower level grades.
Yes.
Do you feel like we sufficiently answered those, or is there anything else that you wanted to show?
I saw the 2 questions. I can probably just show one more thing to help those lower level.
Yeah, why don't you steal the screen back, and then this is just to remind everybody, we'll stay on for a bit. Sonia's gonna be live on the site, so if you have any additional questions about Sims or PLIX, go ahead and type them into the Q&A window, and we will we're happy to demo for you.
Okay, so I'm back on the Sims browse page, and I think there was a question about, like, I teach elementary school. Is there a way to find Sims that can be used in those lower levels? So here's kind of my advice. Use that search bar or the filters, but if, let's say you want to put something in, or it was a question on 8th grade teaching about slope. So you can type in, if you're, lower levels teaching about motion, these come up. You can type slope, right, for that specific question about your 8th grade course. And I'm going to click on that Irwin and Ruthie sim. So again, picture elementary, lower levels, or teaching about slope. Just by using that search bar, I found a sim that I think can work for both. So 2 silly, wacky robots trying to get to the elevator, and which one will get there the fastest based on how they're moving. So I'm going to scroll to the interactive environment. Now for those lower level, let's say K through 6, K through 8 even, I'm going to hide these graphs because we are not there yet. And basically you can just use the responsive animation. So here's the running profile is lazy. Here's Ruthie is going to be aggressive. You could see in this sim, there's like no numbers. We're actually even just using words to describe their motion. And then you press play and the animations respond. So definitely hiding those graphs and picking those sims that are less math focused would be my advice. Now, as far as that 8th grade classroom where you're talking about slope, here you have a position time graph and a velocity time graph. Both graphs have slope that have meaning, and meaning can be derived. And I want to note that all of our sims are mathematically accurate. So actually by calculating the slope of the position time graph, you can, and your students can determine exactly the velocity of Irwin and Ruthie. And then here, by deriving the slope at various points in this velocity time graph, your students can solve for their acceleration or the change of motion in either Irwin's or Ruthie's motion. So here, I really love these sims in that you're taking this kind of abstract concept of slope and you're giving it meaning in that you can use the slope to solve for how fast the robots are traveling and then how they're changing their motion. And there's many, if you put just even like, let's see, velocity time graphs. All of these, so I would just put velocity in there. All of these sims have velocity time graphs. And again, you can derive meaning from the slopes of those graphs. So here's another one, velocity time graph. This is the cliff diver sim. Okay.
That's awesome, Sonia. You probably aren't looking in the chat window right now, but a lot of people said, thanks. There's so much to explore now. That was a really informative session. So I think both you and Katie gave everybody a lot of ideas to take away and to just go and explore. Which is great. The only question left in Q&A is just what is the on-demand session that you need to watch now? It's called Beyond the Certified Educator Program, and it's the last section, or it's in your book.
I can show. Yeah, I actually was going to show. So I mentioned this earlier, and I just want to do this. So here's your CEP FLEXBOOK Katie was mentioning, and here's that on-demand session conclusion, right? Or sorry, Lindsay, that you were referencing. I also, Katie and I referenced those resource PDFs. So under the live webinar sessions, under CK-12 Simulations and PLIX Interactive. So here we are on our page for this webinar. You hit that grid and you hit resources. So the grid resources, you're going to see 2 available downloads, and here's what they open. So there's that chart for dispelling misconceptions with a related sim. And then here's all the PLIX teaching strategies that Katie mentioned, and then the sim teaching strategies that I mentioned. And so if you have colleagues you think would benefit from this, people you'd like to share it with, that's there for you in your CEP FLEXBOOK.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you again to everybody who's still on the line for joining us this summer for the Certified Educator Program. This was our final session. Thank you for joining us. We will look for any questions you have to jumpstart at ck12.org, and we hope to keep in touch with all of you. Thank you so much.